Hi, I'm Danielle, and this is Al, and this is a DNA production. Welcome to
Non-Critics
Non-Critics
Assemble.
Assemble. We are two non-professionals. We don't totally know what we're talking about, but we like what we're talking about, and we're here talking about Silence of the Lambs. Hmm. Like rewatch that when I watch
Mm.
It Happened One Night
I haven't, yeah.
because I want to see what tropes they're making fun of.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Um, so we'll catch you
It's
guys.
done. I heard a beep. You're good to go. Would you like some strawberry preserves to sprinkle on there? This time we have kind of a format. Enjoy. Would you like to introduce a little bit about what we're talking about today?
Right. So we're here to talk about 1991's The Silence of the Lambs, directed by Jonathan Demme, starring Anthony Hopkins, Jodie Foster, with a screenplay by Ted Talley. This is a unique movie. That's pretty far ahead of its time, I guess you
I
could say.
would say so.
Yeah, in terms of what like a lot of things, it's also unique because it's a unique movie for many reasons. It's one of three movies that has won what's considered the top five awards at the Academy Awards, which is to include Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, and Best Screenplay. Granted, it's an adapted screenplay, but still a very entertaining screenplay, all the same.
Because it was a book first.
Yes, it
Right?
was a book originally written by Thomas Harris, who created the Hannibal Lecter character. And oddly enough, this is not the first time that Hannibal Lecter was in a movie.
Really?
Yeah, there was
What?
actually a film in the '80s, late '80s, directed by Michael Mann, who made Heat. Yeah, it's called Manhunter. It actually has William Peterson from CSI as the lead detective, and
So he's one of the criminals in it. Is Hannibal Lecter.
no, he's not Hannibal Lecter. Brian Cox is Hannibal Lecter. Did you ever see X-Men 2?
Yeah. Which.
The bad guy, the Southern guy, General Stryker.
Okay.
Yeah, he's also in Red. Did you ever see Red?
No, I didn't see that.
He's the Russian guy who's in love with Helen Mirren.
Huh.
Yeah,
So okay, so based off of the same character from the book, just put in a different movie.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, Manhunter is actually I guess you could say, a prequel to the events that happen in The Silence of the Lambs. Even in the book, The Silence of the Lambs is a sequel to Red Dragon, which is what Manhunter is based on.
Oh,
Manhunt,
okay,
yeah,
I remember. I didn't see Red Dragon, but
yeah,
I remember it coming out.
Red Dragon is actually a remake of Manhunter.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, but instead of Edward Norton, it's William Peterson instead of.
Did they do a series on Hannibal? Am I making that
Yeah,
up?
yeah,
That was a
yeah,
series, right?
yeah, with Mads Mikkelsen and Lawrence Fishburne.
I
Yeah.
didn't watch that, but that was like when he was younger, right?
Uh,
Or am I making that up? I
I,
never saw it.
I have not watched it either, but from what I've heard, that it's closer in tone to what the actual Thomas Harris novels are actually like. Their tone is different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like I should say, my name's Danielle,
Yeah.
and this is Al. That's the G and the A.
Yeah. DNA. And yeah, we're still figuring this out as
Second show,
a second show.
It's coming together.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got some of the premise of the movie.
It's a movie. So the basic premise of the movie is that Clarice Starling, she's a special FBI agent in training,
Yes.
and she is pulled from her training to assist FBI agent Jack Crawford in helping find the serial killer named Buffalo Bill. Um, and he pulls Clarice to help him and assist him, and to specifically um, work side by side with the serial killer named Hannibal Lecter, who's in captivity in outside of Baltimore. And so she enlists his help to know more, learn what she can, and find him before he gets his next victim, which apparently, throughout the course of the movie, he gets his victim, and
It becomes a race against the clock.
it's a race against the clock to find his latest victim, which is the daughter of a U.S. senator.
I have a couple questions.
Right.
You might be able to answer them. I'm not sure.
Sure.
So, why do they need Clarice? I know that they make it very clear in the movie that she's very intelligent. She's
Mhm.
like top of her class,
Mhm.
very hard worker.
Mhm.
But one, why do they need her specifically to talk to Hannibal Lecter? Like, why do they think that she's going to help with him specifically? And why did they want his help?
They wanted his help to profile Buffalo Bill to get.
Oh, because he's a psychologist.
Yeah, because he is also a psychologist. He is a genius. He is a man of very high intellect, which you can tell right off the bat from his illustrations, his manners,
just
the
way,
way
just he stands.
He's so
like,
very controlled.
Oh, there's so much I want to say about that.
It's a brilliant performance by Anthony Hopkins. What was I going to say? And yeah, they enlist her help, kind of to throw him off. Here's this.
Okay,
yeah, because if Jack Crawford walks in, like
he's used to dealing with the same kind of.
So he's just gonna give them the runaround. So
yeah.
So Jack Crawford, played by Scott Glenn, former Marine, and a pretty good performance, sends Clarice to deal with Hannibal and to throw him off his game and get some insight into how this guy might think. And so that's basically what this movie is, and it's them interacting. And it's also kind of, but not really, a coming of age movie because you see her as a young girl and how all these situations affect they bring back memories. They bring back memories of her childhood in relation to her father, who was a former police officer, and her coping with his death and
he died.
He was shot.
Yeah, on duty.
He was shot on duty. Yeah, and so this movie comes out in 1991 on Valentine's Day of all things.
Oh yes.
And it goes on.
I wonder how many people went on dates to see that.
To see this movie, I don't know. So it's 1991, and this movie comes out, and it does what's considered the sweep, the top 5 sweep of movie, director, actor, actress, and screenplay, beating out The Beauty and the Beast, JFK, and Thelma and Louise along the way. Yeah, and it's one of 3 movies that have done it, along with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and It Happened One Night, which are, like, I don't know if you've seen.
I haven't seen It Happen One Night. I have seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest many times. It's one of my favorites.
Right, and I actually think this is the best of the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the latest one, and I actually think it's the best, and I think it's the most rewatchable of the 3.
We're gonna have to discuss that after we watch It Happened One Night.
Oh yeah.
Are we talking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest at some point?
Probably, yeah. I don't know if it'll be in this season, but yeah.
We'll have to come back to that conclusion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so, as we did last week, I think a good thing to talk about is, do you remember your first time watching this movie?
Vaguely, I remember the first time I saw it. I didn't see it all the way through. I was definitely a kid. My parents probably rented it, I'm assuming. I think my dad would always like rent stuff and it would be playing in the living room, and sometimes I'd catch the beginning and sometimes I wouldn't. So I mainly remember being creeped out by Hannibal Lecter's relationship with Clarice, feeling bad for her a lot, and then the scene that we'll get to later that disturbed me the most, and I'll explain why. But when she first meets him, so I remember being confused about kind of what was going on. I was a little too young. Let me think. 91. How old was I? It came out when I was 3 years old.
Yeah, I was 3.
Or 3 or 4. So no. Then I probably saw it later. My parents rented it sometime. That makes more sense of why I never saw it right through until like later in life. Yeah. I remember being really uncomfortable. Didn't really want to watch it again until later in life. Yeah. Because it's like one of those psychological kind of like and make like some parts of it just make you feel dirty inside.
Yeah, it's definitely like gets to your mind
Yeah.
One of the things that like people will list about this movie, also again in regards to the Academy Awards, of it being the first horror movie to win the Academy Award for Best Picture, but I don't think this is a horror movie. I'd say it's more of a detective movie with definitely horrifying elements
I
of.
will say psychological thriller on this
Yeah,
one,
absolutely.
which I think kind of goes into the horror genre. It's by no means a slasher film. There's no gore for gore's sake, but it is dealing with horrifying
Oh yeah,
circumstances.
I'd be.
Like emotional and mental torment. So
Loss.
I would consider it a horror movie. I would just consider it on the more psychological spectrum,
Right.
end of the spectrum. But yeah, I would lump it into that.
I have a hard time considering, but like I think she is an FBI agent. She's a cop, basically finding a criminal. I personally consider this a detective movie again.
We're gonna agree to disagree. That's fine.
Yeah. So it's directed by Jonathan Demme, who at this time was known more for making rock and roll music documentaries. He made one.
Really?
He made one about the Talking Heads called
Stop Making Sense.
Yeah.
I've seen. Oh my god.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
that's a Jonathan Demme movie, and he made a couple of narrative feature films. And so he was relatively unknown at the time. And making this movie was a pretty big leap in his career. He would go on to do things. He made Philadelphia.
Oh.
He made the remake of The Manchurian Candidate. He made Rachel Getting Married, and I think his last movie, which I saw in theaters, was Ricky and the Flash with Meryl Streep.
Oh my god!
Yeah, did you see that movie?
No, I wanted to though. I've like watched a million trailers for it because I love Meryl Streep.
Yeah, I love Meryl Streep, and also what really got me into that one was I knew that it was written by Diablo Cody, who wrote Juno and Young Adult, and so on. I went for it, like knowing that she was star Meryl Streep would be written by Diablo Cody, whose writing I love. And
real quick, how did you feel about Young Adult?
I like Young Adult, but not as good as Juno, but still really, really, really good. And then I saw that it was Jonathan Demme as the director. I'm like, sounds like Lambs dude like this. And
I liked Young Adult, but I felt I was conflicted about it because I was like, I really don't like her.
Oh yeah, she's very unlikable, but you can't stop watching.
But I'm happy. Oh god. Help. Oh my god, like. Are they motion censored?
Yes, they are motion censored.
I guess I should get up and walk around every. Oh my god. Blackout. Well, gym's closed.
Yeah, gym's closed there, boy.
What were you talking about?
We were talking about young adult.
How unlikable she is, but you're happy for her.
Yeah.
You're like, get on with your life. Yeah, everyone else sucks.
Yeah. Although I do have a heart for Patton Oswalt.
That broke my heart. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah, all throughout, the dude just gets just messed with.
Check Young Adult out.
Yeah, Young Adult.
It's Charlize Theron is I think I'm always saying her last name wrong.
No, that's it.
That is
okay. That's it. Yeah, they're actually from what I hear, that whole creative team of Jason Reitman, Diablo Cody, and Charlize Theron, they're gonna make another movie. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
I don't know what it's called, or I don't know what it's about, but yeah.
I want to see the new one she came out with, Atomic Blonde.
Oh yeah. But anyways, Jonathan Demme made a family drama, but before that, he made this wonderful, wonderful thriller about
this little puff piece called "Silence of the Lambs."
Yeah,
or as my notes call it, "Silence of the Blams."
Silence of the Blams. Yeah.
Blam.
And so the movie begins with a pretty interesting opening credit sequence of Clarice Starling training. She's working hard. She's earning that FBI badge.
She's getting quizzed by her classmates. She's running up hills. Yeah. She's sweating. I did my my little doodle notes again, and my opening drawing is a little Jodie Foster saying, "I'm small, but I work real hard and I'm real smart," because she is. She looks all tiny in her little sweatshirt.
Right.
But she's on it. She can take it.
So she gets called by Jack Crawford, again played by Scott Glenn too.
No, is he like a? Is he? What is he exactly? Like, what is his role in the FBI?
Scott Glenn is in charge of the. I want to say he's in charge of forensic psychology for the FBI.
And he's a teacher. He's her teacher
Mm-hmm.
because they have that little discussion about the A.
Yeah, he was in
A
it.
minus actually.
He's in it. Yeah, he's also a part-time instructor for the University of Virginia, where that's where he had met Clarice Starling, and so she agrees to help him to talk with Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter, to Hannibal Cannibal, to see him in a mental institution outside of Baltimore. So she goes to,
which is basically just a jail cell.
Yeah, basically just a jail cell. She goes to Baltimore to the mental institution.
Oh my god!
This did not happen last time.
Should I just like be like this so I can like jump out of frame and turn it back on?
I have no idea.
Before it turns off again.
Yeah.
So she goes to meet him,
mm-hmm.
and he's like he's standing there like waiting for her.
Mm-hmm.
Like she walks in and she's walking down, all these people are like yelling stuff at her. And he's just like waiting.
Yeah.
Like so calmly.
Yeah, these groups of criminals are the worst of the worst. Prior to like meeting him, she meets Dr. Jack Chilton, played played by Anthony Held, who almost in kind of a way is equally, if not more creepy than Hannibal Lecter himself.
So he's Hannibal Lecter's psychologist, is that right?
He's not
like in charge of him or something?
Yeah, he's in charge of his captivity. He sets the rules, and it's his job to oversee Hannibal Lecter's incarceration.
He just he looks like a suave guy,
mm-hmm.
and he talks and acts like a sleazeball.
Yeah, he's working with his pen.
I when I first was watching it, I was like, wait a minute, is he one of the insane people? Like, why isn't he in a cage?
It's especially like one of those things that kind of noticeable in this movie that I think works really well for why Jonathan Demme works so well for this movie is he, I don't know if you noticed, he likes to film like directly like looking like straight at you, like face to face, which he would go on to, it's kind of a trademark for him and his style. He did it again in Philadelphia, and even in Ricky and the Flash. For just one moment, I remember watching Ricky and the Flash. It's like, when is that moment where Jonathan Demme's gonna have you, looking you straight at the face?
That reminds me, there was a moment that I really liked, and I forget what was happening. I think it was I think Clarice and two of the other agents were like looking at information or evidence or something, and the camera, it reminded me of a comic, and I really liked it, where like how you place the word bubbles of who's talking when. So it's three people, one person standing up, and then one sitting at the desk, and one standing over her shoulder looking at the desk.
Mm-hmm.
And they go like from one down to her, down to the other. Like he's saying something, she's saying something, he's saying something, and the way it like just like pans up so smoothly like that. Mm-hmm. It just reminds me of like someone zooming in on the comic.
Yeah,
I like that.
There's a very good video from this one YouTube channel I'm a very big fan of called Every Frame of a Painting, where he talks about that particular scene of The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, he labels it who wins the scene. So basically, who gets what they want, because Jack Crawford sends Clarice to assist for Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter, to assist them in doing a psychological profile on Buffalo Bill to see like where could he possibly be, how does he choose his victims.
Lights back on.
All right, let's
how long.
Yeah.
So they're trying to find Buffalo Bill.
Mm-hmm. Which they know that he's probably going to attack. He's had quite a few kills in his repertoire. From what they know thus far, he has a particular style in how he kills him, which we'll get into later. So Jack Crawford enlists Clarice to help, to kind of throw him off balance, like to be like, hey, just
change it up on him.
Yeah, I just want like he sends her in just wanting to have a conversation with
Do you
him.
think he was trying to play on his like emotions, kind of like his sympathies? Like, oh, now you're gonna talk to a young, innocent
Very beautiful girl.
student. Yeah, she's beautiful.
She's
She's not what you're used to looking at.
Yeah, especially in this.
It kind of seems like it is interesting watching the movie, especially now, being like, huh, like would it still be like this today, just not as in your face? Like everyone's like kind of hitting on her along the way. Everyone's saying something about. Everyone has to comment on how young and beautiful she is, draw attention to the fact that she is a woman, um, and I feel like she takes it in stride. She stays very professional the whole time. There's even a moment where what is it? She wanted to stay for one of the crime scenes or something, and
the body.
Yeah, and what's his face? Jack Crawford asked, I think, asked her to leave, and they didn't let her stay or something. And she was saying like, you know, how you act informs how everyone else should act. So like, I am upset about it because now people are gonna think it's okay to not let me in on things, that kind of stuff. So she's still a student, but he asked her to be there. So it was very interesting watching those points and thinking to myself, would it still be like this today? Are they kind of? I mean, they're definitely using her, but is it more in their interest, or is it like kind of good for both of them? There's things that I think you wouldn't ask yourself if it was a young man in that position. But I like how they don't make it an issue. It's not like the point of the movie is not women can do anything, but you're watching this person
who's very capable,
taking this stuff in stride. People are being disrespectful, but she's just doing her job and getting done what she needs to, and speaking her mind when she needs to, but focusing on this is my job and this is what I gotta get done.
She's very prim and proper, and definitely has that Southern Belle quality to her.
Southern Belle, you'd say? Because
she's definitely tough as nails.
Anthony Hopkins even says, like, you're basically
like one
no more than one generation away. Oh my god, more than one generation away from poor white trash.
Right, but
which I love even more about her because she's worked her way up and she's used to working so hard.
She doesn't like from what you get out of like how she grew up, that she didn't have like the resources to like be like that proper Southern Belle, but she definitely knows like the customs of the South.
Oh yeah,
being from West Virginia. Yeah.
I love her accent too.
Yeah, I love her accent
so cute.
Yeah, very very good.
A little tiny mouth.
Yeah.
Because I feel like her mouth never really opens on the way.
Yeah. And it's a good segue to get on the topic of Jodie Foster, which Jodie Foster is like, you know, she definitely earns this just all the praise in this movie.
How old do you think she actually was?
She's late 20s, I
think. In the movie?
Oh, in movies timeline, she must be like around 24-ish. You know.
I meant like how old she actually was.
Oh, how she was?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I mean, she was a child actor. She's
yeah.
She was in Taxi. Yeah, she was in Taxi Driver. She was in.
Wait, who was she in Taxi Driver?
She's Lois, the young girl. That's Jodie Foster. Yeah. She's the girl that one guy shot Ronald Reagan over. Yeah, Ronald Reagan got shot in the 80s because that guy wanted to imitate Travis Bickle, and so he shot Ronald Reagan because of Jodie Foster. And so, so she's been working for forever. She actually had an Oscar for this one film that I haven't seen, but I'm aware of, called The Accused, with Kelly McGinnis from Top Gun. It's a courtroom drama.
Yeah. Oh my god, is that the one with the pinball machine?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Does she play a lawyer, or does she play the person who got?
I think she's
attacked?
A lawyer. I think she is attacked in this in that movie from what I know about the movie. I know that it's definitely a courtroom drama. If she's not a lawyer, then probably Kelly McGinnis. But
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but yeah, she's in this movie. She carries it all the way through, and yes, it's a brilliant performance. Like she she like has every range of emotion in this movie, from like joy to like crying to, and you believe every moment, every.
That's why I like because she's so strong throughout it, and there is at least one moment where she does allow herself to cry, but it's a very strong, I don't want people to see them crying, but I have to let this out because of the scene that I will get to
Yeah, we'll
soon.
get, yeah.
Actually, maybe we can get to it now because when she goes in to see him,
Right, she
um,
encounters all the guys who are like
she
up
walked down that gauntlet of people yelling
yeah,
stuff at her.
and yeah, throwing bodily fluids
Yeah, it was when she went to leave. I think she
she
went to
goes,
leave.
and this is, yeah.
So she goes to leave, and
This is what persuades Hannibal Lecter um to give his analysis and help her out,
oh,
because
he feels bad for
yeah, he
her.
feels bad for her, and he also retaliates on her behalf by convincing Miggs, the man who throws said bodily fluid, to commit suicide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot that he
Yeah.
did that. Okay, so the guy in the cell next to him is like curled up in his cot, and he's saying how he cut his wrists and there's all the blood, but it's not really blood. He really just masturbated into his hand and then threw his semen at her and hits her in the like head and hair.
Yeah.
And I remember that scene very vividly from when I was a kid because I was like, why would somebody do it? Like, I know he's in an insane asylum, he's in a cell,
That's just it's not
but
okay, whoever you are.
like it was just the most disrespectful thing I think I'd ever seen before, and I was like, would somebody really ever do that? Like, I was so like traumatized from that. So that's the main thing I ever think of when I think of this movie. But yeah, so Hannibal
agrees to help her.
Bad for her. And what does he tell her when that happens? I forget. Does he is that when he starts telling her like he's not really a transsexual, he just thinks he is?
No, that comes much later.
That's later? Okay.
Yeah, it's much later. Yeah, because at this point, Buffalo Bill, they know who he is. They're searching for him, but they have no, like, they're not on the clock to find him. It's not until the next scene where we are introduced to Catherine Martin, a daughter of a senator from South Carolina, I believe, and it's kind of a comic book meanwhile moment. Like, meanwhile, we are introduced to Catherine Martin, the, again, senator's daughter, who in the middle of the night, outside of her apartment complex, she sees this one mysterious man trying to get his couch into his van.
Was he actually trying to get in there, or did he just say that he had a couch? I forget.
No, he had a couch. He did have a legitimate couch. She legitimately lifts that couch, gets into the car, and
ladies, do not help a stranger move furniture into his car in the middle of the night. Yeah. Just a PSA, real quick, because he did abduct her,
and did quite horrifying things to her on the way.
Well, on the way, what happened? Well, he just puts her in
he puts her in the hole.
Pit.
Yeah,
with some lotion.
Yeah.
She stays soft.
Yeah, and starves her to death. Nearly starves her to death. And
gotta loosen up that skin.
Yeah, so it's this moment when she's abducted, and they realize that there's all the clues that it definitely had to be Buffalo Bill. That this puts them like on the clock.
Well, he's cut it. All of his victims are found with these panels of skin missing, and they can't figure out why these panels. Which I feel like pretty clearly looks like I mean, I guess this is me after the fact, knowing what the answer is, but looking at it, if you've ever seen a sewing pattern before, you're like, this looks a little convenient.
Right. It's one of those things.
Like you're making a jacket.
Yeah. And so the next scene, once she's abducted and once they realize that it's Buffalo Bill, they go to one of his victims, his most recent victim, to her wake and funeral to examine her body, where they start to notice all these things. And here you see kind of the play in power dynamics in regards to, like, Jodie Foster being a woman amongst all these grizzled men.
And a younger person too.
And a younger person. And I want to say this is the first time you get. No, it's not the first time. It's the second of her flashbacks. But this funeral scene does take her back to.
My alarm, it's saying it's 8 o'clock. Yeah, it goes to when she was a kid at her father's funeral.
At her father's funeral,
little baby Jody.
Yeah, little baby Jody. And so this is where they discover the moth in the woman's throat.
I thought that was cool. They're taking pictures with this. The camera was so cool. It was like the really big flash, and they put this thing in her mouth so they could take a picture inside the mouth. They gave her the picture, and right away she's like, "There's something in her mouth."
Yeah,
I thought that scene was so cool.
Yeah,
and then they pull it out.
They pull it out, and it's a moth, and she takes it to some scientist she knows in the
local, like the entomology department.
And they tell her it's this is where you get the death. They discover that it's a death's head moth, which looks like it has a skull, which is on the poster, which is what that moth is that she has at the over her mouth. Over her mouth, over everyone's mouth in the posters. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I like bugs, so I remember being really excited about that. My dad's an entomologist,
and so this is these clues like.
You're supposed to say that's cool.
Yeah, well, it is cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So these clues like lead her along the way. It's a race against time to find out where is this guy, who is he, and along the way, Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins get to know one another. Which from now we're talking about Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. As we mentioned before, he's not the first person to play Hannibal Lecter. And when this film was being made, there was a lot of buzz, like in regards to who would get to play Hannibal Lecter. There were a bunch of people who tried out for Hannibal Lecter, ranging from Robert De Niro to countless other people.
I cannot imagine Robert De Niro.
Yeah, this would be such a different movie.
So different.
Yeah, and so Anthony Hopkins, who's kind of like people know him. He was in The Elephant Man years prior, and from a couple of other things. But this is like what really put him on the map.
This is like when I think of Anthony Hopkins, this is one of the only movies I think of with him.
This is pretty much People aren't remembering Anthony Hopkins for Mission Impossible 2.
No.
They're recognizing him for the infamous mask that he wears.
Yes. If you ever see that mask, like you still with the bars in front of the mouth, you always think of him.
Yeah.
Or Jason, but mostly him.
No, because Jason has the full face hockey mask.
Yeah, exactly. You need the bars to name them. Hannibal.
Yeah, you definitely need to have those eyes like visible, because that stare. It's not. I wouldn't say.
It makes him look like a vampire.
Yeah.
Especially when he's like all wrapped up like that. I love the part where I guess it comes later in the movie when the senator comes to talk to him, be like, I need to find my daughter, and he's like, did you breastfeed?
Yeah.
And she's like, wait, yes, like maybe he has a way to help me. And really, he's just
messing with her.
Being a jerk.
Yeah.
He's asking about her nips.
Yeah. And it's like everyone. He's toying with everyone at the movie, and I kind of like to think that he knows who this guy is.
I feel like he's toying with everyone, but I feel like he's not really toying so much with Clarice.
No, he wants to help her. He cares about her.
He likes her.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like that way.
Oh no, I don't. I mean, in the second movie, there's some weird stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happening there. But I almost felt like, because I wrote down here when we're introduced to him, I wrote down we were introduced to Hannibal dandy, because he reminds me of like an old dandy. Like he's got this like
prim and proper stance.
Yeah, even his little jumpsuit looks like so like, and the way he stands, he looks like a model citizen from the 1950s. Very clean and almost like asexual seeming, like just like very, I don't know, like I would either
dapper?
assume, I guess dapper's the word. There's another word I'm looking for and I can't think of it. But he just seems like just a celibate person or something who like doesn't even think that way. And then he's talking to her on like he cares about her, like maybe he could like be in love with the idea of her in a way, but it doesn't seem to really be a sexual thing, more of like a
There's
psychological. Like he's interested in her.
he's got more respect for her than to think
Yeah.
of her as like in that fashion.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it makes you almost like him.
Yeah,
It makes you almost like Hannibal.
No, I mean, he kind of has to be. He has to be charismatic in order
Mhm.
to. I mean, in the time frame of the movie, in this movie's timeline, he's definitely killed like bunch of people, like let's say a dozen people that he's like eaten.
They don't really talk about why he
No,
does
no,
anything.
no.
He
I think
does.
it definitely helps the movie, gives him more of that mysterious edge because,
Because it's not so much about him; it's just him helping them, which
yeah,
is nice. Because I think a lot of movies tend to want to tell you too much about everything,
yeah,
and this one stays focused very well.
it's a mystery, yeah, um, yeah, and so along the way, from the Death's Head moth the the patterns of the skin that's taken off, and at the same time, you also see things from the perspective of not only not only Clarice and Hannibal, but also the situation of Catherine Martin being like stuck in this hole where she's being starved to death.
Dungeon.
She's in a dungeon. She's being starved to death. She doesn't know why.
There's great music playing.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's got that.
Yeah, and she is introduced to Buffalo Bill, who we see like fully up at the top of the well, and he's very he's with his dog, and he's acting very
Precious.
Precious the puppy, and he lowers the light down for her to put the lotion in the basket, raises it up, and she sees a fingernail.
I love the way he talks to her when he's like, he almost sounds like a little like bitchy.
Yeah, he's giving her like 3 strikes.
He's like, he puts the lotion on its skin. Or else against the hose again. And then when he gets really mad and like his like actual voice comes out.
Yeah, and it's very very rednecky and
when she's the best is when she starts like screaming and yelling and he starts mimicking her, but but it doesn't seem like he's making fun of her. It seems like he's just trying it out. Like it's such a strange moment, but I feel like it makes him so much realer. Like,
and more horrifying.
Yeah.
And you get that that one scene of him in his in his sewing room, which is the most uncomfortable.
Oh my god, I loved it so much.
Yeah, and that I will never hear that song the same way again.
Okay, so first of all, I love that song.
It's so like
I love that song so good. It's
Goodbye Horse.
Goodbye Horses by Q Lazarus.
Right.
Who is a woman. I always thought it was a guy. It's a woman with a very deep voice, and I used to drive around listening to that song like late at night, like all throughout like high school and college. Like,
right.
Love that song so much. So I can't help but love the scene. And when he's doing his like little dance like in front of the mirror, and then he like stop. And my favorite is that they show him up close, like stopping real quick just to do the tuck, and then he backs up. And when he does the backup, and you see like his tuck, and it kind of looks like he's a lady. I remember being like, oh, no, look at him, he's having a good time.
Yeah, which would be later replicated in Clerks 2.
Yes. It's an iconic scene.
Yeah, which is like, I guess the mark of like, I imagine being in this cast, like knowing like when did this make it, like when is it come from like being a popular movie to like an icon of all time, and I don't think it gets more like knowing that this movie is iconic when it gets imitated in other scenes, in other movies, like for example in Clerks.
I mean, there's so many movies where they've imitated where Anthony Hopkins does the thing about where he's talking about the fava beans and he does like the noise or whatever.
In Dumb and Dumber.
That in so many different things.
Yeah, in Dumb and Dumber a couple of years later. Yeah, just a testament to like how memorable and rewatchable this movie.
Because there's so many things that happen that seem so odd, but they're so deliberately placed that they work. Like the little dance, like that dance scene could have been so cheesy.
Oh, it could have
so gross. But instead, it was almost like to me almost endearing and like made me kind of feel for him a little bit and be worried for him at the same time.
Yeah, this man is he's definitely depicted as a man of he's not mentally all up there, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something's not right.
yeah,
If you have a dungeon in your house with a panic alarm that goes off when the doorbell rings,
and moths.
something's going on, and you should probably talk to someone.
Yeah,
Because I don't know why you need that.
yeah.
He needed it because he was keeping women down there and skinning them. But yeah, I didn't notice that till I don't remember that from the first time I watched it. That when people ring the doorbell, it sets off an alarm in
Yeah.
the dungeon, so you can go up and try to act like nothing's going on.
Yeah, and so there's a bunch of clues and a bunch of leads that Jodie Foster takes on the advice of Anthony Hopkins and Scott Glenn and her own deducing, from they range from all the way from Baltimore to West Virginia to I want to say he's in Ohio in the last he's located in Ohio.
Maybe.
Buffalo Bill, yeah.
I forget. I know he's in a different area.
Than where they
and she says that she's 400 miles away from wherever they are, because they went to do two different places. She went to go. Why was she up there?
She went to investigate to look at the victim that was on the slab. Right, she goes to Ohio, where this girl is actually from, and that's where she's looking for further leads as to.
Oh, because she goes to find the victim who. They're talking about how there was a victim that wasn't like all the others, and she figured from Anthony Hopkins' clues that that must have been his first victim, because he sunk her and she showed up later after they had found other victims. And
she goes to the area to talk to people that girl knew, ranging from her father to her friend, and that's where she goes to that girl's room, where I guess one of the things that I like about this movie is that Jodie Foster has this, I guess, woman's perspective to look.
That's why I liked about. So before we go there, just real quick, she's talking to one of her schoolmates, and going over information that Hannibal had said to her, and that's how she comes up with it. She was, because he said to her, that he covets, and what do you covet? We covet what we see every day, and she's like, he knew her. He must have been seeing her every day and wanted that. So that's how she gets the idea and goes back to find out more about this first victim.
Right.
And then she goes into her room, and you see, because she does things that a woman would know is in a girl's room. So her first instinct is go to the little music box. That's where you're going to put precious things. And she automatically thinks to go behind the mirror, because that's where else would a girl hide stuff from people going in her room? No one's gonna look there, and she finds the Polaroids.
Yeah, she finds what's hidden in plain sight, and then she's like, again, takes another tour into the next room, and that's where she sees the door, and that's where she sees the sewing patterns that she saw on the girl, and she's like, oh, this is it. And then she makes a call to Scott Glenn, again, who's 400 miles away, where they think that this guy is, based on medical records from psychiatric hospitals who have been interviewing people for same-sex surgery, or for sex change surgery, as according to what Anthony Hopkins said. And so they think they have a lead, so they go there and they find him, and they are mistaken.
I love when she calls and she's like, oh my god, I know who it is. And they're like, we know, we're on our way there.
Yeah, they're mistaken. And
they're not on the way there.
Yeah, so she goes, on enough by pure coincidence and chance.
They tell her, right? They're like, she's like, it's 400 miles away. I'll be there as soon as I can. And they're like, don't bother. Go check out this other lead. Yeah. And that other lead, it's Buffalo Bill.
It's Buffalo Bill.
But she doesn't know it.
Yeah, and I love she's in his kitchen, and she sees all the sewing things, and then the moth flies in on the thing. She's like, oh, this is the guy. And she goes in, and she gets her gun out, and she's like, freeze, and he like walks away, and she
Yeah,
sees.
he like turns around and he just like shuffles away.
Yeah.
Like,
While,
don't do it.
all the cards like
Like it's like go everywhere.
yeah,
Just like that.
yeah, just like that.
Reenactment.
Yeah.
You want to do it again with camera?
Complete movie.
do with the half and halves.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that scene because there was like a moment where she's asking for someone's business card, where he says like, oh, I think he's saying how oh, I bought this house 2 years ago from the woman that you're looking for, because she was looking for Mrs. Whitman or something like that. And he's like, oh, yeah, I bought this house a couple of years ago, but I think her son, it didn't add up.
Yeah, it doesn't add up in her mind, and so she's like, she's putting two and two and two together, and
there's like there's this moment where I think they both know that they're kind of playing each other.
Oh yeah.
Where she's like, "Can I use your phone?" And he's like, "Yeah, you can use my phone." Like they both kind of know, like this is over.
No, it's not gonna end well. And so she chases him down into the basement, and she finds the moths that he's been growing. That apparently he can only grow under certain conditions. You know, as the guy, as the entomologist.
Entomologist.
Yeah, the entomologist had mentioned they like, you know, this guy cares for these moths. He loves them. They symbolize his transformation, and so she.
I think that's something that Hannibal says too, right?
Yeah, it's something.
Butterflies a transformation.
Yeah, it's a transformation, a metamorphosis. Yeah. So, you know, she goes and she finds him. You know, mind you, the night was pretty much the night before she goes to find him. You know, he's held up in this cage, where you know.
Oh, we totally skipped over the thing with Hannibal. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, before she gets to him, before she gets to the real Buffalo Bill, the FBI tries to coerce Anthony Hopkins.
Is that a unicorn?
Oh yeah, this is a Blade Runner.
Yeah, was there a unicorn in Blade Runner?
There's a unicorn in Blade Runner.
Yeah. I don't remember that. Yeah. I'm sorry. I just realized that was a horn in it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. Yeah, we'll probably talk about Blade Runner later. I don't know about.
We should.
Yeah, not in this season, but yeah, probably. Yeah. So prior to this final encounter with Buffalo Bill, the FBI, specifically Jack Crawford and Clarice, they make this phony deal for Anthony Hopkins to coerce him into thinking that he's gonna, you know, get his vacation, that he can finally go someplace where he can see trees and water and whatnot and walk free. Turns out it's Anthrax Island.
Anthrax Island.
And so he finds out this is fake, and that the mother to the senator herself is like pretty angry, and so she so the deal doesn't work. They send him off
to. Well, it's a fake deal, but then they give him an actual deal, which is different than the original. But at least in the new deal, he has, I don't know, a cage in the middle of a room. I don't know why that's great, but
and I love how he walks away from the situation, and he's like, "Hey, Senator, love your coat."
Oh my god, I love that scene.
Yeah.
When he did that, I was like, is he gay? Like I couldn't tell. Like in the beginning of it, I'm like, are they implying that he's gay or is he just like not? Maybe that's just me.
I think he's just.
Or is he just like just not anything?
I think he's just toying with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, he does seem to be very what's the word? Stylish or like hip to
flamboyant.
Not flamboyant.
Eccentric.
He was definitely eccentric.
Oh, he's definitely eccentric.
But he's very like he's stylish and like you said before, dapper. So he would notice something like that.
I mean, it's definitely.
I'm sure he appreciates nice lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely implied in the sequel.
Silhouette.
It's definitely implied in the sequels. But as far as
this, implied in the sequel that he's that he might be gay.
Yeah, because he has a relationship with Gary Oldman.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in all honesty, like the less we talk about the sequels to this movie, the better.
Oh, wait, but before we go back off of that point, because apparently I think everyone's gay. I did, because we were talking about before how there's been that long running, like, is Jodie Foster gay or isn't she? And then we were watching the 2013 Golden Globes, where she like kind of comes out, but she doesn't really say it.
Yeah.
Because Heather, my wife, had been, she's talked to me about this multiple times, I don't know why she's talked to me so many times about Jodie Foster. But I didn't really remember watching many things with her recently, and as soon as I turned on this movie, I was like, oh, that's why they say Jodie Foster's gay. I'm like, I'm totally getting vibes. So I know, I feel like it's a gaydar thing, I think.
Maybe.
But there's just something where I'm like, yeah, no, I totally get it. Made me love her even more. So anyway, back to the cage
like
and normal
the cage where they have pretty much their final confrontation, and you know he has his
escape.
As big before he makes his big escape. You know he's got his illustration of Jodie Foster with the lamb. Yeah, because he gets
and like, there's like the crosses in the background. It's like this biblical scene.
Yeah, and because he wants to, like, you know, he does care for her.
She's pure.
Yeah, she's pure in his.
She just wants to help because the story was so sweet. He learns in the story that she tells him because he earlier agrees to give her information only if she gives him information that he wants about her life, because I guess he wants to kind of analyze her. And she tells the story of how after her father died, she was sent to live with cousins on a ranch. And one night, after a couple months being there, she heard they were slaughtering the spring lambs, and it sounded like children screaming, and it scared her so much. She tried to free them, but they wouldn't run, so she grabbed one and tried to escape with it. But she couldn't get far enough before they brought her back, and they sent her away. So it makes sense that he has her with this lamb as this almost Virgin Mary type of kind of setup with the biblical, you know, scenes in the background. He's a nice artist.
Yeah,
well, I mean, I wouldn't say he's like amazing. He's pretty good.
He's pretty good. Yeah, I wonder if Anthony Hopkins himself actually drew it.
I always wonder who does the drawing, who does the artwork in movies.
Yeah.
Wasn't it in Titanic? Wasn't it who was it? Wasn't it like the director?
I think it was James Cameron. That's one of the rumors that it's James Cameron.
That it's his hand, like drawing, like whatever.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and you know, it's one of those. Yeah, I like that. You know, that monologue. You know, because it cuts to the core of who this character is, of like being this this protector, this mother in a way, which gives.
And that's why he's so interested. Of like, do you think that if you save this one lamb, that you'll stop hearing them scream at night?
Yeah.
You wake up in the night hearing them scream.
Yeah, which is definitely like what makes this movie.
It ties everything together, so like in a little bow, so nicely.
Which makes this role for Jodie Foster, like this character of Clarice is, you know, this situation is something that could really only happen to a woman, really, kind of.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, because like of like her maternal care for the lamb, for Catherine. And,
well, it's just, I mean, I guess that's arguable. I don't know. I mean, because I'm sure that kind of situation could have happened for a young boy too.
Yeah, father.
Just to being young and innocent and wanting to save what you couldn't save when you were younger, like a childhood trauma. Like I couldn't save that person, or I couldn't save that thing, and taking it with you growing up. I could see that happening to a man too. Her experience is unique because she's a woman, especially growing up. But that as I wrote down, Clarice origins could have been Clarence too.
Maybe. I never thought Clarence.
Just imagine, hello, Clarence.
Yeah, so she walks away from the situation. She feels defeated, but you know she's about to, you know, bust the whole case wide open. You know, and so Anthony Hopkins makes a pretty elaborate and wow, that's an escape for the ages.
Oh my gosh! So that part almost like, well, I didn't really like this scene so much, and I'll explain why. But I have a couple issues with it. So what happens is it's mealtime for Anthony Hopkins.
Right.
So I don't know why I feel like this is a puzzle to me. Most situations, you have a meal in jail, they slide it under a thing, or you have a little thing you open and you slide it in and you close it so that no one gets hurt. But for some reason, they decided, well, with this cage in the middle of the room that we built especially for him, let's make mealtime the most complicated process ever. And they say, oh, we're ready when you are. And he goes up to the bars and he puts his hands behind so they can handcuff him to the bars on the side of the cage.
Yeah.
Then open the door, walk in, and serve him his meal. Which I feel like makes no sense.
Especially given, like, you know, when we're about to be introduced to Hannibal Lecter, when Jodie Foster in the beginning of the movie, she goes down to walk to the place where he's at, and she gets stopped by one of the security guards, played by Frankie Faison from The Wire. Just because I had to say that, because I had to, yeah, because I love The Wire. And Frenchie Faison, he gave her a picture that we can't, which was smart because we can't see the picture. We can't see like what Jodie Foster sees of this woman being mutilated by Hannibal Lecter. That she that apparently he did all this woman, and that little line that his whole heart rate didn't even rise. Like he just did all this savagery to this woman, and he didn't it was nothing to him. And so like
I missed that part. I don't remember that.
Yeah, she's down in the basement, in the cellar, and they gave her he gives her this picture of this mutilated woman, this face that we can't see, and he tells her, his heart rate never even jumped. Like he could do this kind of thing just without even thinking about it. And,
it just doesn't.
And so we get this, and so like why these guys would make things like overly complicated, as opposed to they can just like you said, just slide.
Because then it gets worse because he has the drawings out and they're all over the table.
Yeah, they're setting.
First of all, where did he get the pin?
Oh,
did he even show you where he gets it?
Mm-hmm.
Where does he get it?
He gets it from Chilton, in his cellar in Baltimore. All right, so
he's this one little straight pin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's in the cellar. Was it Chilton? Is talking about him. This is after they've messed up the fake deal, right? Yeah. And so Chilton comes down, and so they got Anthony Hopkins locked up, and so he must have stolen the pen from Chilton before going to see the senator. And one of the guys, where's my pen? Yeah, so this is where he's got the pen that he can unlash himself from, and then he proceeds to just straight up massacre both of these guys.
Well, yes. So what happens is, he has the pen.
Mm-hmm.
So while he's handcuffed,
mm-hmm.
he starts fiddling with it, trying to unlock the handcuffs.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, his drawings are all over the table, so he's like, mind the drawings. So the guard, of course, goes, oh, let me move his precious drawings. So this man who's eating people's faces, and he puts the tray on the ground,
right,
and then proceeds to fold up the drawings. And I'm like, I wrote down in my notes, I'm like, why does the guard pick up the drawings? I was so annoyed. I was like, stop it! What are you doing? So he moves the drawings to put the meal on the table.
Right.
Meanwhile, he gets loose,
mm-hmm.
kills both the guards,
mm-hmm.
and apparently no one's checking up on him because he's got plenty of time to hang him up like an angel and drape and dye some of the drape red with the blood and hang it like a beautiful scene.
Mm-hmm.
To cut off someone's face, place it on his face, and lay there like he's dead. Like, how long did it take him to do all this?
And let's not forget to put that one guy whose face he chopped off and put him on the top of the elevator.
To make him look like him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How long?
Because I guess we're not supposed to question it because he's a genius. But that whole section, I was like,
well, also,
I could have done without that whole thing.
I guess also, I think one thing that comes to mind for me in order to somewhat closely to get us closer to answering that question of that plot hole is that these guys these are Baltimore local cops. They're not orderlies. They are not mental house orderlies.
Oh, okay.
So the procedure is kind of out of regular stuff. It's not their cup of tea.
Yeah,
it's not what they're used to. Yeah.
Not protocol.
Yeah, not protocol. But I see what you're saying. For me, it's that one thing that I have to suspend.
Suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, willingly suspend my disbelief, and
you gotta do it real hard for that.
Sometimes you just got to. You got to watch one of the greatest movies of all time, and so this is what leads up to Jodie Foster being in the position that she's in order to confront Buffalo Bill for the final time, and so she goes down to his basement. She finds his moths. She finds what's probably the old lady that he killed in order to get this house.
Mm-hmm. Well, what happens? Well, she runs. So he runs away from her. She runs downstairs, hears Catherine screaming, but she's also quickly seeing these things around her, and she wants to help Catherine, but she's got to find Bill first.
Yeah.
I love it when she's screaming at her. She's like, "Don't leave me, you bitch!"
Yeah.
Aw, poor woman.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
She's like, I'll be right back.
yeah. I mean, I like everyone has like everything makes sense for every character to in within the context of their situation.
Yeah, it totally makes sense that she's screaming this stuff
She's
at her because she's
yeah.
like she's a young woman, right? She's
Yeah.
not probably more than like in her early 20s, right?
No,
if even that.
Yeah, if even that. Yeah.
What's her face?
Oh, that's mine.
I'm blowing up. Yeah, so it was like I don't know if it's supposed to be funny, but for me it was like a moment of a little bit of comedy.
A little bit.
And she had the dog down there with her because
Yeah.
she was trying to lure the dog down.
Yeah, because that's how she manipulates
Oh
Bill.
yeah, she's like, I'll break her arm or something.
Yeah,
or something like that.
to get that's one of the things again that I like is that
yeah,
she's
like,
not she's not completely
spunk.
yeah, she's not completely helpless.
No.
And, no, she's thinking of like how do I
she's
get
like
myself.
my mom's a really important person. Like
Yeah.
she's not your run of the mill damsel in distress.
No, she's working to get her freedom.
I love that when she's like, thanks for the what did she say? He throws her some scraps, and she's like, she says something like, thanks for the scraps, jerk, or something. And she's like tying up one of the bones to like throw up to lure the dog.
Yeah. And she tells him that she thinks that the dog has broken its leg to get him to like, oh man, I gotta do something. And at the same time, there's Clarice, and so this guy's like off his balance too, and it's yeah. So he puts, granted, this is even though it's his territory, this being thrown off. He's lost control of the situation, which is what gives Jodie Foster the edge, and even though he shuts the lights off, much like this room.
Oh my god! Yeah. So we don't have what are they called? I was gonna say glow in the dark glasses.
Night vision goggles.
Glow in the dark glasses. His night vision. Oh my god! I love that scene where like she's just like helpless in the dark, feeling around, and he's right there, and you're just like, oh my god, Clarice, you're so vulnerable, and he like almost touches her face. Yes. Oh my god! Yeah. It just like kills me because it feels like. It just feels like such a violation of her personal space. Yep. Oh my god.
And which is when he finally clicks or cocks back his gun.
Yeah, he's got to wait to like because he has the gun, but
it's a revolver.
He hasn't cocked it yet, and
this gives her that.
Hold back the what do you call it? The hammer.
Yeah, it's a hammer.
And so he's waiting there for a while. It's like it's almost painful watching how long this goes on, where his hands like hovering there. And then finally, he slowly pulls it. She hears it, and without missing a beat, she spins around and shoots. And I love it because in the beginning, it almost seemed like she was hesitant to shoot him when she was when he got away with the business cards, and she really makes up for it there. And you're like, yes. And I think it's funny because when we were talking about Kill Bill, how the action in Kill Bill is very, you don't see the action, you see it right before and right after, basically, and it's like very quick like that. I felt like this was classic 90s, like slow it down and hear the like choo 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 like noise of like of like everything that happens. So it made me laugh because you see her spin in slow motion and then the boom and then the choo 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 choo. Yeah. And
then he's like kind of
like fades out or something.
Yeah, then he's like on the floor.
Oh yeah, you see him dead.
Like he's got his hands, and then there's that brilliant shot of the
butterfly thing?
Yeah, the butterfly display.
I drew. Okay, one of my second to last little note on here. I'll have to like scan them and upload them. It's so crappy, but there's three things that they show at the end. So first, after they shoot him and after she shoots him, he's on the ground. They show this spinning, I guess like a wind kind of like it's like a paper crepe-ish
paper display.
kind of thing that spins in like the wind, and there's like an image on either side of it. One side's one butterfly and the other side's two butterflies, and it's spinning. So it goes to that. Then I think you see like pictures of Bill or something.
Oh yeah, like he's taken notes of all his crimes.
Yes. So then it goes to like the newspaper clippings, and then at one point it goes to like an American flag with some stuff, and I'm not sure what that had to do with anything, but I felt like it must. I'm like, I guess all these things were important, but I don't know where the flag came in.
Yeah, and we also forgot to mention that like she's in the before she shoots him, like she's looking through all his stuff, and she sees the bodysuit.
The bodysuit. Yeah. She does.
Yeah, she sees like he's got like his bodysuit like on like a
dress form.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
Oh, I will never forget seeing that. Yeah, and so yeah,
I
and
mean, I remember the suit, but I don't remember the moment where she sees it.
oh yeah, she definitely sees it. Yeah, I saw it. Which is like it's from her point of view, so she sees it, we see it, and yeah, once she's got him, once he's shot, and you got the butterfly thing. I love how at the end, Catherine, the daughter, keeps the dog.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's hers now.
yeah, it's hers now. Yeah,
Someone's gonna take care of that pup.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, and so the everything's said and done, and she's given her she's definitely earned her special agent status as an FBI agent. So she's at her ceremony. She's celebrated for having done incredible work, and Hannibal Lecter has escaped, and it's her ceremony. And I don't know about you. I don't know about you. One of the things that maybe I'm reading too much into this, but Scott Glenn, Jack Crawford like leaves before she like he says he doesn't like the ceremony, but that moment where he like leaves at the same time that she gets the call kind of like left me as like, did Jack Crawford kind of like know about like Hannibal? Was he like
Well,
involved?
isn't he the one who tells her that she has a phone call?
Yeah,
Does he
but
know who the phone call's from?
I don't know. Yeah, and so it's one of those things that's kind of ambiguous, right? And so she gets the phone call from Anthony Hopkins, who's apparently somewhere, in the Caribbean. He's got like I think
Was it the Caribbean? I was trying to figure out where he was.
I don't know. I don't think they ever specifically said maybe it's Haiti, maybe it's Cuba. Who knows? But he's definitely in somewhere that looks to be tropical.
He looks like he's dressed up like what's his face? Man, what's his name? Hemingway or something.
Ernest Hemingway.
Like maybe it's just an image I have made up in my mind, but I feel like that's who he's supposed to look like or something.
And so he's got like kind of a wig. He's got a very white on white.
Was it a wig? I was like, God, his hair looks terrible.
Yeah.
All right, I'm good.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We're sorry, Anthony Hopkins.
I was like, man, if that's what his hair looks like long, I'm wondering why he keeps slicking it back. But I guess it's just a crappy wig.
Yeah, it's just a crappy wig, and so he's talking to her on the phone at the same time. Granted, this is could only happen in movies that at this exact same moment that like he's on the phone with her that like
the plane landing and the people coming off.
No, well, not just that, but that Dr. Chilton is among that group, and so he's like, I'm having an old friend for dinner. Just at that exact same moment, which again, got to suspend your disbelief a little bit, but it definitely worked. And so he walked. Last shot of the movie is Hannibal Lecter walking off into the crowd in the middle.
I drew that.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. He's walking up with. I drew his awful long hair too.
Yeah, so that's how. Yeah, movie's over, and so that's.
I love when he's like, "The land stopped streaming."
Yeah.
Did that?
I don't know.
I'm not sure if they did or not.
I mean, she keeps working, so.
I'll work till those lambs stop screaming.